Hi guys, so in the last lesson you looked all at comparative policies, so comparing policies around the world with the UK. This lesson we're going to be looking at 4 different theoretical perspectives on UK policies. So the first one is functionists, and if you remember, nice key term to get in there, a consensus view. Consensus view is a view that they see things as running smoothly, so as you can imagine they are going to agree with the government and like how the government works because they're going to see that as part of society and a part of society running smoothly. Now what functionists believe is that over time the government develops policies, laws in order to support the family. Now it's nice, specifically if you're going for an A star, to show a bit of cross-curricular reference knowledge and say what functionists think the family does, because then you can link to how policies support this. So if you remember, the 4 functions of family are reproduction, stable satisfaction, sex drive, economic independence, and socialisation of the young. So I've done a timeline of 6 different policies. For each one, if you could just pick what function the family supports and explain why. Some of them you might think linked to a couple, that's fine, just pick one and say how each benefits the family as well and why. Now, for evaluation, I just want you to look up austerity measures. Some of you might already know what they are in quite a lot of detail, but just look up quickly, brief look at what austerity measures are and say how that it criticises the general idea that functionists think that policies continuously improve things for the family. Okay, our next one is Donzelot. So Donzelot is very critical on things like social services. Now he looks at a micro level, and what a micro level is it means he looks at small scale interactions. So rather than focusing on overall social policies, he looks at the dealings with families, with like doctors and social services. And he believes that doctors, social services, other people in these types of organisations use their knowledge of health, child welfare in order to control families. And not just any families, they say they unfairly target working class families, and they force themselves into these families to control their behaviour. So one such example is that if parents have a child at truants, they have to attend a parenting class that the government runs. So they're teaching that class, using that knowledge to tell parents how to act. This is developing more and more, because I don't even remember who it's a class in America, in Scotland, they're developing a policy that you should have a second guardian, which is likely to be a teacher at your age, and they have dual responsibility for your well-being. So if they say, if I was your dual carer, if I felt like your parents weren't doing a good enough job, I would have that opportunity, that right to get involved and deal with that in a way that I saw fit. Obviously, probably most of us would disagree with that. So in order to get you to look at that, I've put a documentary. You only need to watch 6 minutes of it. I've put the link, so just click on that. Any problems with that link, let me know. I don't think it does talk about forced adoption, but I've picked a clip specifically that there isn't anything too upsetting in it, so you should be okay. But if anyone's worried, can you just let me know, and I'll find you an article or something alternative that covers the same issues. Okay, feminist theory is a bit more complex because you have got liberal feminists who really like policy and see it as, do you remember we said the March of Progress view, things are steadily getting better. So from your own knowledge, if you just pick 3 laws that you think have benefited gender equality and say why. Try and link those to family if you can. Whilst radical feminists don't like policy because they don't think it's enough. Now there's several reasons. I've put 3 things there to link, but just to give you a general background, do you remember they use that term, the personal as political? So they think a lot of men's control comes from the personal relationships in the family, and they think that government laws, they're not going to do much to try and stop that because it happens in the privacy of the home, like things like domestic violence. Secondly, they think that because the majority of people, like police officers or MPs, are male, they're going to have very little interest in protecting women's rights. And finally, a lot of policies actually put women at a disadvantage, seeing the ideal view of the nuclear family with the woman staying at home and ignoring other family types, which might explain, for example, why we don't have many women's refuges in the UK. Now, as your evaluation point, I've asked you to say how it's not as simple as talking about gender issues. So think about how women of different class, ethnicity might experience inequality differently. Now, the final theory I'm going to get you to look at, I've only done a small task with because we did New Right the other day, but it's important to remember they very much talk about policy. They advise, we know from previous lessons, they advise the government, so it's important to remember them. So I've put 3 policies. All I want you to do is say whether New Right would agree with them or disagree with them and explain why. And if you have any difficulty with that, please let me know and I'll go through it with you. All right, hope you're all right, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.